Greetings, investigators. My name is Detective Sins, and welcome to another installment of Synopsins. Today we're covering a thriller movie from 2017 titled Get Out. Watch out for spoilers, and let's get into the video. The movie starts off with this dude walking down a pavement late at night, talking to someone on his phone, trying to navigate where he gotta go. He then gets followed by a white car, slowly inching towards him. To his credit, he did the smart thing and tried to go to the opposite direction. But I guess it won't be a thriller movie if someone didn't get captured in the first 3 minutes, am I right? The scene changes and we're now introduced to these adorable lovebirds, Chris Washington and Rose Armitage. Chris is packing his stuff up because he's about to meet Rose's family for the first time. I mean, I can't imagine what's going through this guy's head. They're on their way to the Armitage house until... Apparently, a deer went by and it was basically roadkill. Their headlights and mirrors got smashed as well as a result. The cops got involved and asked for Chris's ID, which I don't know if you realized, make no sense at all since Rose was the one driving. This perfectly sets the scene for one of the major themes of this movie, racism. When they arrive, we are introduced to Rose's parents, Dean the neurosurgeon, and Missy the hypnotherapist. Dean gives Chris a house tour and talks as if it is their first time talking to an African American, talking about how he'd vote for Obama again if he could, and mentioning about other prominent figures that, let's be honest, everybody knows. We're also introduced to the housekeeper, Georgina. She seems to behave very oddly and has this smile that's just, unnerving. There was also the groundskeeper, Walter, that looks like that neighbor in the hood you don't want to mess with. Finally, at the dinner table that night, we see Rose's brother, Jeremy, who keeps yapping and acting like he never got any attention his entire life. It's obvious though that the company wasn't so welcoming with having a black guy in the family. I mean, if it's not obvious enough, the two helpers in their family are of that race. Chris couldn't go to sleep and decided to take a walk. He saw the two helpers acting even more peculiar than normal. He then passed by Missy's office. I didn't mention this earlier, but when they had a chat in the afternoon, Chris was visibly distraught. He keeps knocking on the table as if restless about something. This is very common for people who have yet gotten their daily fix. Knowing this, Missy pressures him, strongly encouraged him to have hypnotherapy with her. Chris defeatedly gave it a shot. As he was in this trance, we see Chris's memories. Tears start falling out as he reminisces about a broken past where he talks about his mother's death in a hit and run. At a moment of weakness, she commanded him to sink, to avoid that she calls the sunken place. She closed his eyes as if sealing his consciousness. As Chris is telling Rose his story, dozens of cars arrive for an annual get-together with the extended Armitage family. As the stereotype goes, these rich white folks talk about Chris's build and express admiration for other notable black figures. Interestingly enough, Chris met a blind art dealer named Jim Hudson, and he took special interest in his photography skills. Look, blind art dealer? Knock knock, who's there? Not logic apparently. It may not be logic, but at least you are here watching our video. If you like what you see, why not consider giving us a thumbs up, or even subscribe to us so we can break down more incredibly stupid movie logic that gets over people's head. Done? Thanks, let's get back to the show. At that same gathering, Chris met another fresh-looking black man, Logan King. He acts quite strangely as well, twirling as if he's putting on a circus act. He is also married to a woman that I could only describe as a dried-up raisin. After exploring the place and taking pictures, he went back to his room to get his phone, only to find out that it was unplugged. He tells Rose that he suspects that Georgina did it to show that she does not like him being with Rose, and that Walter shares the same sentiment. Rose brushed it off and continued attending the party. Frustrated, Chris called his friend, Rod Williams from the TSA, and talked about the obvious ill-willed treatment he's receiving. He went out and got introduced to more white people and a Japanese man. He asked whether it's more of an advantage or disadvantage that he's a black man in this modern world. Like, why ask something that you can't even change about yourself? But you know what? The fact that there is still an advantage and disadvantage for being a certain race in this modern world speaks volumes of the society we're in. Logan King then talks about his experience being married with what we shall officially refer to as the Raisin. Chris attempted to take a photo of Logan without him knowing, but accidentally had the flash on. A moment of silence, and then we see Logan having a nosebleed. He then jumped at Chris screaming, "Get out! Get out!" The other family members then held him back, claiming that Logan had a seizure. Sure, whatever. Here, I'll make it even more obvious. After everything dies down, Logan claims that he's going to lie down and rest, with Missy following suit. One more thing, I don't know if you realize, but this isn't the first time you've seen Logan. Chris obviously got scared and pulled Rose away from the crowd, asking her to leave the gathering. Meanwhile, Dean held an auction with Chris's photo. Very daring, I might say, to do it out in the wild. The auction ended with Hudson as the winner. Best part, this auction was supposedly done in silence. How the hell did he know how much he's bidding against? That is a certified sin. Chris sent that picture he took of Logan to Rod, and Rod notices that this Logan guy is actually a missing man named Andre Hayworth. Rod found this incredibly suspicious and told the cops, but no one believed him. As Chris is preparing to leave, he stumbles upon photos of Rose and her previous relationships with other black guys. We can also see Walter and Georgina. Red flag. He makes haste and is about to leave, but Rose and her family block him. Chris went for Jeremy, but Missy uses a trigger that she instilled in him during the hypnosis, knocking him unconscious. Chris wakes up strapped to a chair in a peculiar looking office. He is then presented with a video that explains his situation. We see Roman, Rose's grandfather, explaining that the family runs a service of some sort where they transplant their brains into other people's bodies, which gives them their preferred physical characteristics. Meaning that, in theory, your mind can live forever as long as you keep transferring your brain to different bodies ever so often. Now we know why Hudson was desperate to have him as the host body. He wanted to have his sight and photography skills. What happens to the original host's consciousness? It's trapped in the sunken place. Let me just say one more thing. Why are you using an old ass monitor? You're so rich but you couldn't even afford an OLED TV? If you're gonna virtually kill someone, can you at least make their last moments in HD? Chris felt hopeless, but noticed that the chair he's using is very old. Cottons are sticking out of the armchair. Missy performs the hypnosis once again, seemingly knocking Chris out for the third time. As Jeremy comes in to fetch Chris for the surgery, Chris finally gets his moment and knocks him unconscious. If you haven't figured it out by now, he only pretended to get knocked out and clogged his ears with the cotton to block out the hypnosis. I'll save you the hassle and summarize the final fight scene. Chris impaled Dean with the mounted deer's antlers, stabbed Missy, killed Jeremy properly this time, car crashed with Georgina, shot Walter, and left a wounded Rose on the street after strangling her. The movie ended with Rod rescuing him in the middle of the night. This movie managed to explore the possibility of immortality in such a unique way. For most movies, I would say that this entire drama could have been avoided. I, for one, I'm so impressed at the fact that this is something that could genuinely happen, minus the brain transplant thing. Something that annoyed me is that despite the great cinematography, sometimes they just whisper too softly. I had to download subtitles for myself to properly understand the dialogue. Except for that blind art dealer, everything else was impressively great. Highly recommend you to watch it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like this video, go ahead and click that like button down below. Subscribe if you want to see more content just like this, and ring that bell to get notified whenever we post a new video. So investigators, you are dismissed.